Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Lab Podcast. So today we are just going to be talking about what is probably on everybody's minds, election stuff, bullshit, and more. But yeah, Kel, how you doing? How you feeling? What's on your mind?
I've been better. I've been better. It has been a rough week, and in a rough week that feels somehow like it's been 3 months. So
Yes.
I, I for one, to be honest, was incredibly shocked. I don't know if it was like a false bubble that I created around my head and around myself with like my algorithm or whatever. But I really thought we were not going to have him as a president again. Um,
Yeah.
so I've been a bit shocked. How are you doing?
I wasn't shocked. I spent a lengthy amount of time on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. So although it's usually a dumpster fire, the upside is it's not an echo chamber. So I did see it coming. Basically, I just remember telling Des I don't know how it's going to be any other way. I had a little bit of hope still. I was hoping, maybe there's some people who are not active on social media that we're just not seeing. I also live in a red county, so a lot of Trump signs, a lot of Trump trails, parades, that sort of thing. Uh, so, and even my feed that I wouldn't consider a conservative feed just was turning more and more like not necessarily conservative, but if I read the comments on any post, it was all just like Trump 2024, like all the way down. And I feel like with the amount of trolling that I got this year, I was just like, I don't see this going our way. So I tried to mentally prepare for that as much as I could, but you still, again, you have this hope maybe. And so it doesn't hit you any less, even if you kind of anticipate it coming, because the outcome is the same. So you're kind of like start going through worst case scenarios of what do we do from here? What does this mean? Especially as trans people. And the shit part is, even regardless of whether he won or not, he was able to run a big piece of his campaign off of anti-trans rhetoric, and that hit a sore spot or a commonality for a lot of people. So just to be like that common ground that people came together, the hate of trans people to essentially, vote Republican, it hurts. It hurts for sure. So, yeah.
Really, really fucking does, man. I know, I it feels personal, right? Like
Yeah.
it feels incredibly personal. I had a rough day. Like I was having a rough day already. Like Sans election. No way around saying this. I One of my powerlifters had passed away on Sunday, and so yesterday was his funeral. So I was driving down up now to where I coach and to go to his funeral, and it is a very it's farm town. No way around it. They have the pumpkin show. It's a big deal. Farm, very small town, and it's the middle of Trump country, and it was just really hard going and walking around because like people had Trump apparel on and shit. Like it was just, it was hard. It just feels so personal. Like you look at someone, and you're like, you would hate me if I just took my shirt off and you saw like who I was. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Totally. Um, that's the hard part too, is to not take it personally, because it feels like the issues that they voted on are personal. And I know they try to say like, not to take it personally, people have their own reasons for voting, or there's people who are like, oh, I don't hate trans people, I just care about, or even I don't like Donald
The
Trump.
economy.
Yeah, like I care about the economy, I care about, I'm not a single issue voter, that kind of thing. Um, but it's like, but those single issues are huge for a lot of people. So, yeah. And as far as the economy plans go, it doesn't even seem like his plans are good, anyways. So you just kind of wonder, what. Obviously, there's enough people to, blow Harris out of the water. And I think that's one thing we're going to have to sit back and kind of look at for the next 4 years is the why behind it. And I know we know some whys, at least looking at how the campaign unfolded. And I think there were a lot of mistakes that were, played. They did the best, I guess, with what happened, but it wasn't ideal. And I think that definitely went into a huge piece of why it did not go so well. I know people had issues with not being able to have a primary and, have a nominee for the Democratic Party. I know that a lot of people didn't want to vote Democratic due to the issues in Gaza. And I know a lot of people felt like they didn't know who Harris was, and they didn't know if she was genuine or what we could believe, or they were upset that they felt like they were lied to pertaining to Biden's health for who knows how long. And so I think there was a lot of trust broken. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing and why people voted the way they did. Um, does it make us any happier, being in kind of the line of fire? No. Um, but it's just trying, like, my brain's trying to find a reason to just not be absolutely pissed.
Yeah, I think I've like yesterday I was just so like physically angry. Like everything in my body was just pissed. Like I don't know if you've ever been that like angry that like you're shaking and you can't like relax your muscles. Um and like that's how it was like coming off. Like it was really funny. Maddie is it's great to have a rugby lady in your life. She has a bunch of pads, like they call them rucking pads, but they're like essentially like just big pads that you're supposed to tackle into. She was trying to help me calm down and just strapped one of those on, and she was like, "Give it to me," and that was really handy. But today is sad. I'm just sad.
Yeah.
Um, I was very actually proud of my county because where I moved, I'm in Ohio, which is a swing state, and where I moved is in the boonies. Um, and I have like there's a lot of Trump signs on my street, and I see that a lot. But I was very proud that our county actually turned blue. It was one of the couple counties in Ohio, so I at least had that.
Oh, hey, that's nice. Yeah, my county is still red. But yeah, I mean, at least am in California. But with everything, we don't know. Like the shit part about this time versus 2016 is the potential power, how much more power Trump has with Republicans in control of the Senate, and it's looking like the House. Not for sure, but it's looking like it's going to be the House too. So they have opportunity to do a lot of damage, and that's the part that gets scarier. Because I think in 2016 there was this, oh, the president doesn't actually have that much power, but that's a little different story now.
Yeah, and then the other side of it, because like the House is not looking good, but two justices of the Supreme Court are likely to retire, and those are lifelong appointments. Um, and I also think something at least that makes me more scared than the last time is that he's so much more embrazened, and I feel
Yeah.
like because he is and is got this positive reinforcement happening, his followers are getting more embrazened, and it honestly makes me a lot more scared for my physical safety. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it makes me want to have that commune and just be like an off-grid kind of guy. So,
Yeah. No, yeah, I get that for sure. And it's like, I don't think I've ever kind of craved a sense of community more just because there's not a lot we can do. But if you think about trying to create your own little bubble and your own little worlds within the chaos of everything, it can help, ignore a good amount of what's going on around you. If you have that safe spot. But that's also not always easy. It's just like
yeah.
building community. We're across the country from each other, that sort of thing. So
Well, and that's something that I get really grateful for because, like, my immediate, like, knee jerk reaction is to run away and isolate, right? When after all this, like, um, that's my knee jerk reaction at least. And I think that in order to not like go down a dark path, like mentally for myself, like that, the cure is to turn into community. And I think that's one thing that makes me, even with all the trolls, so thankful for Instagram because like the amount of people like I just either came and contacted me or I contacted just to kind of reach out and say like, hey, thinking of you today. I know uh, that really helped me yesterday. Um,
yeah.
so I don't know if you experienced any of that. What did you have any kind of saving graces that you've been trying to cling
um,
to the last couple days?
yeah. I mean, I did have a few people reach out as well, and that was always nice. It's like, well, at least there's still kind people out there on our side, even if they're not trans as well. Um, Honestly, I just try to think of like creating my own bubble still of just doing my normal everyday routine and trying to stick to what I can control as much as I can. And just being like, well, I'm just gonna keep trying to focus on like my goals and bodybuilding and getting huge so that no one will fuck with me.
I don't
And
want to talk to you to fight, so I'm just going to get as big as I can, like a peacock.
yeah, exactly. It's all about, just looking scary. And I think it just like, you know, basically in my mind, I want to live the type of revenge of just showing that, we still like we'll still keep fighting and not just let it, overtake us completely. And we're still able to, live happy, normal lives as much as we can with what's in our control. And yeah, I know a lot of the bodybuilding community is also on the other side of the spectrum, and I know a lot of their stuff is due to business situation. But it still, still feels hurtful. So I'm just like, well, fuck it. I'm just gonna compete and get on stage with these people who probably don't like me, but they're gonna have to live with it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I did not stick to my plan. Like I didn't. I yesterday for me was like it fucking hurt, and I potatoed. I kind of like oh, that's what we call it. Maddie and I, our couch pulls out into a bed, and we have it out all the time because it's more comfy to watch movies. So essentially, we have a couch bed in the living room. So we couch bed basically as soon as I got home from the funeral, and it was nice. And I just checked out and tried. We went and did a puzzle. I had a cookie. I know you don't want to hear that as a coach, but I had a rough day, and I did. I just tried to comfort myself in any way possible. So that's kind of what I did. But now I'm just getting more and more fired up because I think I saw something on TikTok about like, well, I guess our generation was meant to fix this shit, and I'm kind of trying to get more into that mindset to get to kind of take it as a challenge to push back and be those people that are hopefully in the history books for winning, right? Like eventually just fighting the long fight and showing up and just hoping that we can make it a little bit better for the people behind us.
Yeah, for sure. That's another way I was trying to make it a motivator. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
just to have something to continue to fight for, and just to prove, like we're still here. We're not going anywhere as much as they want that to happen. As much as we'd like to think about leaving the country or like finding a safe space. I think if we can, come together as much as we can still and like support each other. We've gone through some dark times as it is. There was a time when, insurance didn't cover surgery, hormones, anything like that. And it wasn't even that long time ago. Do we want to go back there? Do I want to go back to the time where I had to pay for my top surgery? No. Uh, but you know, we got out of it once, so if we can find a way out of it again, um,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully, it might take some while if they decide to poo poo on that. And it depends on the states, of course, and how everything goes with that. But still, not a reason to roll over and give up. I think that's kind of the thing that I want to emphasize and what kind of gave me the motivation yesterday to just be like, no, like, I'm just going to keep fighting and keep going. I've got way more to prove, and I'm not going to let this get in the way. And I also know that the other side gets off on us,
Mm-hmm.
like crying and being sad about it and, going insane about it. And I'm not going to give that to them. So they can, be waiting for it and shit. But I'm just going to be like, cool, well, I'm just going to keep living my life. Nothing you can do about that. So fuck off. I'm not going to let you ruin it.
Yeah. Well, and I think it is really hard to like kind of I don't know. For me, it was the American flag and like being patriotic for me has been the last what 10 years like so like a signal to me that it's a certain type, right?
Yeah.
And I just think that I I I know with everybody wanting to flee, and me included. Like I have also, like I've texted you, like these are the countries we're thinking. What do you think?
Yes.
And but I think it's something to remember that we belong here just as much as they do. We
Yeah.
have every right to this country and its future as those folks, and I don't want to let them take the flag. Like we, I want to be able to be patriotic
Yeah.
and so hopefully one day we can be proud to be from here and all that. But
Yeah.
I do hope that we can kind of use this time to really dive into our community more and support each other more,
Yeah.
to realize kind of that we're all on the same side, because I do feel like one issue with the Democrats and such is that we get very splintered off and into infighting and such.
Yeah. I think that's what cost us a few elections here.
Yes.
So we gotta like, talk it out, hug it out, get on the same page with shit, or else this is gonna keep happening. So that's one thing with the right. They were unified, obviously,
By hating us.
by hating us. Yeah, it was great. So, um, if we can find a way to do the same and not have be off of hate, then we can be the bigger people. Um, yeah, we just got to figure out how to do that. Um,
We did
but
have one good piece of news. The first trans woman or transgender person elected to Congress. That was
yeah,
exciting.
I did see that. Where was that again? Was that Michigan?
Delaware.
Delaware. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Go
Yeah,
Delaware.
good job, guys.
Giving us that little sliver.
Yeah, yeah.
But I cannot imagine how hard that person's life is going to be.
Oof,
I would
especially
not want
now.
that job.
No. Plus, they're gonna get like just annihilated on social media, like pretty much constantly, because that's what they do and that's what you see. Um, so yeah, I think too one of the most like infuriating things for me was the, I guess, like blind faith that the other side has for Trump, so much so that they can literally release evidence that he was close friends with Epstein for like 10 years. And still, they're the party who says they want to save the children. And, they said that like everyone who endorsed Harris was on the Diddy list. And it's just like, I'm pretty sure both of them are on the lists of both people. Like, uh, it's just weird. And I think there's probably this deeper corruption because it's almost like it's not even the Democrats we're talking about the Epstein tapes. So you almost wonder they couldn't because something was going to pop up about them too. Like it was released, it floated around, and then it died. And no one said a thing. No one addressed it. It swayed no votes. And I mean, we know that there's just corruption everywhere and there's nothing we can do about it. I think that's even the more frustrating thing about government is that it doesn't always feel like a democracy when you have two choices and neither of them
Wow.
are, like ideal. So it's like you get a choice between these two people, but that's it. Uh, you probably don't agree with, something of either side, or you just don't like the candidate, but you're kind of forced to pick. You vote third party, but that's what gets us in situations like today, where a much worse candidate ends up winning because of that. Um, and I like to relate it to choosing who you're voting for. It's a lot like voting for your favorite restaurant without knowing what goes on back of house, how they treat their employees. Is it clean? Like, where does the food come from? So you're only picking on surface levels from what you can see without knowing what goes on in the background. And I know for fucking sure I'm not voting for my favorite restaurant if there's roaches in the back and they're not making, keeping their food served safe, but yet that's a mistake. I vote they're my favorite restaurant and now they're getting all the business and they're going to potentially make a bunch of people sick. So it's just so hard to actually know what we're voting for either way.
Yeah, well, and I think we have such little power that it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it matters because it's even if we voted for the person who we aligned all the issues with, we still can't get anything done. Like
Yeah.
we had the House and the Senate with Biden and didn't do anything.
Yep.
I saw a TikTok that someone voted for Trump because he made more money during Trump's election, which is it doesn't is not causal. Like
No.
that's not how that works.
No.
But also he's like, well, I voted for Biden and because he was going to forgive my student loans, and he never did. And so
Right.
that was his reasoning, and I'm like, and his logic is very flawed, but like it feels like nothing gets done anyways. So
Yeah.
except for bad things, rights go away, but none of the benefits ever come.
Yeah, so essentially we're always just voting on damage control, which sucks.
Right, exactly.
We're not voting for progress, we're voting for damage control. And to have to make that decision, like, totally fucking sucks. So, um, you know, I know Biden gave it his best shot with the student loans. I know I got something about mine being forgiven. I'm not sure because it still like shows up as it being there. I haven't had to make any payments, but it's one of those circumstances where it was because it was like a shady school that was for profit and that sort of thing. But I'm like, is that still gonna go through? Like, come on, let's do this before January because I don't want to pay that back. That'd be an awful thing. Like, yeah, we're gonna forgive your loans. Just kidding.
Psych.
Yeah, so I'm like, fuck you guys.
Well, and I know that's like I don't know. My loans did not get forgiven. I don't think they're ever gonna get forgiven.
No, yeah. And there was also, I know, a point in time where they made the payments more manageable, and then they like stopped that and made that seem like it was unconstitutional or whatever. I don't know. And so it's just like our payment's going to go back up. Is there anything that Republicans can at least like throw people a fucking bone and be like, hey, let's make this manageable with how much money you're making, and not just like, oh, we know you can pay this if you scrap elsewhere. Like, can we make it manageable to where it's not this huge chunk of your income? Uh, that's why I'm just like, why are Republicans so fucking cold hearted? That's the hardest part. Like, they're the ones who want to get rid of healthcare.
Yeah,
Mm.
I saw so many people like tweeting or not tweeting, Instagram posting like, you can't like I can't explain to you why you should give a fuck about someone else. Like,
That's so true. And
and
I will
that's what it does
say,
feel. It it's like
yeah,
I can't teach you that you should care about what's happening in your community. Like, because
yeah,
I know a lot of people who didn't vote because they're like, my vote doesn't mean anything, and I'm like, cool, 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 awesome.
yeah. They're like, well, it does actually mean something.
It means something to me. So
Yeah, it's like if you don't know how to vote, let me tell you, and go get your ass into the polls. But yeah, I think, ugh, yeah, it's that certain amount of, like, you can't teach someone how to, care about other people and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I just feel like I want to hope that there's still human beings out there that aren't going to try to like take healthcare away, and stuff like that. Before Trump tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, like repeal and replace, but failed. But he did try numerous times, and John McCain is the one that saved the Affordable Care Act. But he is no longer here. He is dead. So he's not going to be coming in here casting the last vote against repealing and replacing it. And I know for a fact they've been trying to go after it for a while. So what is it going to look like? Are we going to have to go back to the times when pre-existing conditions prevented people from having health insurance? And like, if you're going to do that, you have to make healthcare more affordable somehow, because people can't pay $30,000 for an ER visit and an IV. Like, that's insanity.
heaven
So
forbid you get sick and get cancer or something. Like,
yeah, like, are we really going to be this developed nation who lets people die because they get cancer and they can't afford treatment? Like, that's not progress. Uh, how can we be proud as a country to be in that situation and like looking at healthcare, as this thing that you have to earn? It's a privilege essentially, to be able to afford healthcare, and that just seems wrong.
yeah, it really, really fucking does. And on while we're on that topic, to our trans brothers, eh, get your doctor to switch your diagnosis to a low T, like a man who's has low T. I don't know how to say that in fancy doctor terms, but my doctor did it, and it's to switch it out of like gender dysmorphia um, to low T. Just it makes apparently it changes how its insurance is coded or something,
Yeah.
and it makes it hopefully that we won't get flagged.
Yeah, I think once you change your gender marker through your insurance and stuff like that, then there's no reason they couldn't code it that way. Um, but yeah, probably definitely a good idea to have it coded that way, and probably a good idea to get on any type of surgeries sooner than later. It's hard to know how it's going to impact it, but they also have to realize that, I mean, we know Republicans care about money. And if we think about, surgeons that treat the trans community, they're obviously not going to be thrilled about, any sort of disruption in care and stuff like that. Um, Hate to think of trans people as just this money pawn, but, it's a business. So hopefully they'll consider that side of things since they tend to consider money.
That's the only thing we can appeal to.
Yep. They're like, hey, we're making you money, so shut the fuck up. But yeah. I was trying to think of there's something else I was gonna say in regards to it's just like, I don't know. We've been in these places before, and it made things like pride and you know, community a lot more necessary. I feel like pride has become this thing, and also it's become this thing because, the right shits on it and is like, why do we need Pride Day? Like, we don't have Straight Day. And it's just like, oh my God, are you 12? Okay. So we need Pride because every 4 fucking years, there's this chance that our rights are going to be taken away. And we've lived a large majority of our lives scared to even be ourselves. So that is what Pride is about. But I feel like it'll probably become more important to go to those types of things, feel like you have a sense of community and know that like all the people around you are there in the same boat with you and support you and that sort of thing. Because I know that used to be a really good feeling back in the day when it wasn't, it was more taboo still, to either be trans or gay or something like that. So it sucks like, oh, let's go back to those times where it's taboo. Um, but at the same time, it's powerful to know that you're not alone.
Absolutely. And I think if you are feeling lonely or more alone in this time, reach the fuck out. Reach out to people. Instagram, I talk to strangers I've never met. It feels weird at first, but like I think especially as a trans person in a more rural place or a smaller town, like reach out to folks. Um, Find community even if it's online.
Yeah, for sure. I was like,
We
maybe,
we're strong community. We're strong fucking people. So
yeah, like maybe somehow, someday, the lab can organize some sort of community event. Even if it's just
we should do a
workouts.
live or something, an IG live.
Yeah, that's definitely something we haven't done for a while. We did that like a
Yeah,
couple times before,
a
but
million years ago. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, and we do still also have, people who are not even in the LGBT community that support us. So not everyone is an asshole. I had, someone reach out that wasn't in the community, and they still have they support and they have their concerns. And I was thinking how, like the majority of white cis straight men tend to vote for Trump, but for those who didn't, I just like want to give them props because they don't have a reason. They just care. And that's not you
Well,
don't come by.
conscience.
Yeah. Like they have empathy and they care and they respect other people and they are able to realize how their actions affect other people. And I feel like, not to bash, cis straight guys, but it's just not very common. Like, let's be real. So when you come across,
Agreed.
you know, men that care, um, it just says a lot about them. It's just like, man, you didn't have to care. You could have just fallen in line with all these other assholes and like try to fit in with them, but instead you didn't. Like you cast your vote in favor of, supporting the people that needed it. Um, so I'm like, whoever you are out there, you rock.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And thank you. I think
Yeah.
we can have gratitude, um, and yeah, I lost it. Sorry, my head is it's just been a week.
No, I get it. And I think the biggest thing to also focus on, something that I keep telling myself, is not to like try to get ahead of ourselves and just live in catastrophe 24/7, because we're not there yet. Uh, Things do take some time to change, even if it's for the worst. So it will be, you know, more gradual. It's not like he's, gets in January 20th, or was that I think it's the inauguration day, and like
Something like that.
everything instantly changes. There has to be steps to make those things change. Um,
Thank God for red tape.
yes, those things that our forefathers put in place for a reason. So like there are going to be things that are going to change most likely, but not saying it's just going to be overnight. So you just got to try to stay present and, pay attention to what is around you, stay grounded, do things within your own community, have your people that you can be around, to just have your own bubble, and just know that like that's always going to be there for you no matter what happens outside of that. Because as a person who's anxious, like I had to keep fighting my brain from going there. I'm like, dude, like, first of all, that hasn't happened yet. Second of all, that side loves to fuck with your head, and they would just love knowing that's where your brain is going, because they're like laughing at all the people who think that like, or who thought, or I mean, it could still be. We don't fucking know. The thing is, we don't know what is true because everyone lies. Um, but they're like laughing and trolling on the Project 2025 thing, and kind of I saw someone joking around, being like, "Oh yeah, by the way, this whole time we were actually planning on implementing Project 225," and they were trolling. But it's like there's this. Are you though? Or are you serious?
I can't
Because
tell.
yeah, I can't either.
But I'm
So
really happy you said that because you're right. Getting ahead of yourself, even with bad things, is not good. And I'm really happy that you said that because honestly, that really hit hard for me. So I know it'll hit hard for our audience too. So thank you for saying that, Cody.
yeah, I mean, it's something I
About
had to
pre
tell myself.
catastrophizing. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, I think not to get our head of ourselves, I think is a great sentiment to kind of end on. Do you feel good about that?
yeah. I think there is one last thing though that I wanted to kind of
Okay.
say is, the thing that I really would hope to change, on both sides of the spectrum. I've never seen such childish fighting, uh, with our own president. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes on the Democratic side, they kind of stooped to their level, and I wasn't proud of it. I was like, "What are you guys doing? Like, you're just gonna stoop to the immaturity of Trump?" Um, and it's almost like he makes his opponents go there, and I am just, and then it becomes this back and forth, childish, immature name calling situation. And I'm like, can we stop that? Can we go back to the days where even though people were on the other sides of the spectrum, even debating each other, still had so much respect for each other and even would give like compliments? And like, can we go back there? I just really hate the way that we're handling conflict. There is no maturity around it at all. And so even when it comes to like, either us or, the president's higher ups, whatever, like if we can find a way to actually have conversations without name calling, and violence and things like that, uh, maybe we could actually be more unified, and we don't have to keep going through like a near civil war every 4 years, because that was also the concern of like, if Harris wins, is there going to be like this civil war? And like, to get like, I hope that all of the tension, like, if we could bring that down a notch, would be great, because that is really heavy still, and it's a lot of energy and a lot of anger, and I'm like, damn, I'm so tired of like seeing this anger or even feeling the anger. I'm like, I just want to be able, we just dehumanized ourselves on both sides, and if we could see and respect each other as humans again, that would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it's just like tired of fighting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would be nice, but I
Yeah.
don't know if we'll get there.
Yeah, I don't know either. Especially if someone, wants to be just blatantly transphobic. Obviously, that's not a good start. But say someone like had actual questions and was respectful. Cool. Yeah, let's talk.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about it. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have a little power talk for us. It's short and sweet. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And I think that's what we need to do. I don't know if my soul is ready to do that. I think I have a day or two mourning left in me. But I think once you've healed enough, we need to kind of get up and keep pushing forward. I think a lot of us are kind of gonna just lay down and want to die, figuratively, hopefully. Um, but I just want us to all remember that we all deserve a future, and that the only way that we're gonna get anything is by getting up and doing it, and taking that step. So sit with your feelings, process your feelings, but remember we have to get up and move through them. So that's
Yep.
what I have for today.
Yeah, I like it. Don't let them win. Keep living. Keep living your life as best as you can, essentially.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next time.
Peace out.